Good morning here on the East Coast and good evening out there on the West Coast to Alan Saunders. You are here live for the Steelers Now post-game show. Um, Unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers fall to 5-4 after a 25-10 loss. And when you look at the score, you would assume, oh, the defense just didn't hold up, didn't do what they need to do. And unfortunately, that was the only bright spot for the Steelers. Offensively, couldn't get anything going. They didn't score a touchdown until the game was well out of reach. And they were outgained by only 92 yards today. But the big story, 2 of 11 on third down, couldn't get a fourth down conversion, and 3 turnovers. And Alan, how are the vibes coming out of the locker room? Is it, more or less the same as it was against the Packers or Bengals, or is it kind of maybe a little more upbeat now the defense, by all accounts, has performed pretty well the past 2 weeks?
There's definitely frustration about losing. There always is. I've never been in a happy locker room that just lost a game. But I think this is categorically different than the way it went the last couple of weeks. Not to say that I don't think anybody expected, when we were looking at the way the Steelers team was put together in June, July, August, that we would ever see what happened against the Cincinnati Bengals and the Green Bay Packers happen to this defense, to this team. I don't think that was on anybody's radar. Certainly not the players. And so when that happens, I think that's really a much more crippling kind of thing. Now, the offense played well in those 2 games. And so when I talk to offensive guys coming out of Cincinnati, coming out of Green Bay, sure, they're upset about the team, but I think it's much more muted. What you have in this game is an offense that struggled. I think we all expected them to struggle. I don't think anybody really expected them to be bad as they were today, but I think we all saw the problems with this offense. It has a very inexperienced offensive line. It has a 41-year-old quarterback. It does not have enough playmakers in the passing game. Those were obvious problems with this offense from day one. This loss is much more the way the Steelers expected this season to go, where the defense plays pretty well, and yet when you talk to the guys on defense, they're saying, we got to be better. We can't give up 25 points. And they're right. This is the way the Steelers season should have gone. And if the 2 weeks before had not happened, I think this loss would have been much more acceptable. And now you look at a 4-game stretch where they had 2 games where the offense played well and the defense was awful, 1 game where you got the inverse of that, and then 1 game where you got both sides of the ball and the special teams. Special teams is bad today as well, all playing together. 1 out of 4 is not good enough. You're not going to win a lot of games with one side of the ball pulling its weight. But I don't get the sense that there is an unhealthy frustration. I don't see guys blaming other guys. I think a lot of the offense, certainly Calvin Austin has one clang off his hands. Broderick Jones gives up a couple quick pressures. Jonnu Smith probably should have come down with that one and probably thinks he did. DK Metcalf is still looking for a pass interference penalty. I think a lot of the offense is just kind of some 1 or 2 play. It felt like everything piled onto the offense outside of Aaron Rodgers having the worst game I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers play. Statistically, until the last drive where they get the garbage time touchdown, that was the worst performance of Aaron Rodgers' career. That was off a cliff. And that's, I think, concerning, but that affects 1 player of 53. So it's not really going to be a mood driver in that way.
No, certainly. And I think you kind of highlighted what a lot of folks are feeling here in the comments already. The first comment we had today says, I imagine Rodgers had worst game in his career, but I can't think of them. What a stinker. And it was a really rough game for him. 2 turnovers. When he would check out of plays, by all accounts, he looked lost. He didn't look in rhythm. He didn't look in sync. And whether it's receivers weren't getting open or the defense was just giving him looks that he wasn't expecting. It was not a good performance by Rodgers, and yeah, it was just really disappointing. I think when your quarterback can't perform well, it's going to trickle down eventually. I mean, I think the only player
See,
who really had a good game was Jalen Warren, and
yeah, yeah. Receivers not getting open has been a common thread. Um, Receivers not catching the ball has been a common thread. But they've been able to get by because they've schemed well, they've run the ball well, and Aaron Rodgers has done a good enough job. And today he just did not. I mean, he took full blame after the game, said, I expect to play at a high level every week. Today I wasn't that, and I've got to be better. And really, like, I hate like analysis that boils down a play of a game that has 80 plays in it, and any number of bounces and changes can change it. But like, look, 90% of the result of this game falls on the shoulders of number 8. And like all the rest is just kind of pecking around the main issue. If he plays like this every game, the Steelers will lose almost every game. This basically requires your defense to pitch a perfect game around you when the offense does that.
no, absolutely. Yeah, I think next week they're going to get an opportunity to rebound against a bad Bengals defense, but that Bengals team is coming off of a bye, and so the offense is going to have a chance to bounce back, and I think the defense is also going to be kind of wanting to get a little bit of a revenge game there. We have Omar Khan artist. He is chiming in after the loss. He says, initial reaction is becoming more apparent how limited Rodgers makes his offense at this stage in his career. Hall of Fame player, but let's be real, looks to be a liability. And I disagree with the liability part. I think he can still throw it. I think he can still make plays. Today was one. I mean, you saw some plays today. He threw one deep to DK Metcalf, couldn't connect. He threw one deep to Calvin Austin, couldn't connect. One was overthrown, one's underthrown. It's just the offense was not in sync at all whatsoever. Let's not forget the offensive tackles today were pretty bad. Like it was very rough.
Yeah, it might have been the worst game of the year for Troy Fautanu. A couple of bad plays for Broderick Jones, I think, really probably make it look worse than the overall will be. But yeah, those guys. Look, yeah, I mean, and I think going back to the big picture and what we spent all last week talking about is that the Steelers in action at the trade deadline, and like, yeah, would this team have been better and more equipped to win this game with another wide receiver? Absolutely. Is this team going anywhere even with that wide receiver? No, they have big problems with this group. This team is nowhere near good enough. Like they are a 10 or 11 win team, and 10 or 11 win teams don't win the Super Bowl. And so you don't push all your chips in on them. Like that's what they are. That's what they always have been. They may not even be that. I mean, I think I still think they'll be fine, but like certainly they're gonna have to play a lot better than this to get to there. And um and it's not an easy schedule going forward. The Bengals gave them trouble. The Dolphins just showed they're not packing it in yet. They've got a really dynamic offense. And so like they're going to drag them a bad offense to an okay record. The defense has been a disaster, and this game, sort of notwithstanding in that conversation. But when you look at like the decision to not add to this team, I think this game perfectly encapsulates why they clearly are not ready for the all-in moment. They have a lot they need that they don't have. And they're young on the offensive line. Like there's going to be games where Roderick Jones and Troy Fautanu look like guys in their first year of starters. There are going to be games where they're going to look okay. Hopefully by the end of the year, there's a lot more column B than column A. But I mean, you're not going to snap your fingers and have that offensive line. You got to work to get it.
No, you make a great point about the young offensive line because Isaac Seumalo was out today, so with him being out, your veteran on the offensive line is Broderick Jones, who has only been starting 2.5 years. So yeah, it was not a very you definitely kind of saw, especially on some of those stunts and some of those outside linebackers dropping into coverage, things of that nature. They looked like they looked their age, if you will, for no better way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, Rodgers
Um,
looked his age, and they looked their age, the opposite.
no, absolutely. It was definitely a rough performance, but I think Father Abraham, appreciate you chiming in, Father. 3 turnovers. That I feel like, you know, when we're kind of talking about the defense, they got put on that short field with that first interception, and then that one that went off Calvin Austin's hands, and then the Chargers got another short field on the muff punt. Um, but on the flip side of that, no turnovers today, and they kind of dropped a few out there.
Yeah, I mean, if you catch the 2 interceptions, probably have a lot better chance of winning the game. Talked to TJ about this. He said very firmly that the defense can't live and die by interceptions. And basically the expectation of the defense is they've got to be able to hold a team like this under 20 points, which of course would not have mattered if you score 3. You're going to lose anyway. Forget the garbage time nonsense. Um, I don't know what else. I mean, yeah, would the interceptions have been nice? Sure. Does it change the game? Absolutely. Um, I don't really know what more you can ask for the defense and what you got out of them tonight. That was a really good defensive performance. I mean, like to keep Lad McConkey from going off for 60 on that late drive that sort of opened up the floodgates. But I mean, they were on the field for 25 minutes already at that point. Like, and no Slay. You're down to 3 corners. Like, I don't think this defense is living up to its expectations or its own hype. But that's better. That's about what I thought they would do in this game. Like, I think that's a pretty good performance.
Absolutely. And we do have one comment that kind of echoes what you're saying. SML Things says defense was probably gassed. As I'm
Yeah.
looking at right here, from a play call standpoint, I mean, the Chargers ran 69 to 50 plays. And I mean, that's, if you continue to play 69 plays a game, that's not an ideal situation. And time possession wise, Chargers were almost 40 minutes. They are 37 minutes and 35 seconds of possession time. That's basically 2/3 of the game. So that's definitely, that's definitely not what you want to have happen. Anthony Daniels kind of chimed in he kind of mentioned a little bit about the trade deadline. He said if we traded for a wide receiver too, then we would have lost this game and lost draft picks. This team is not a contender. And Anthony, thank you for the comment. I think no, I think that's they did try to make some deals happen, but for the folks who are asking for why didn't we trade a first for Jalen Waddle or something, I think Omar Khan knows that in the long term that's not going to be what's best for the team. And yeah, and like you said, Alan, there's just too many things going on with the team now. I mean, to just trade away valuable draft stock like that.
Yeah. I mean, they are in a fairly major rebuild. And I don't think anybody ever thought this was the year. And the inconsistency you're seeing is mostly the core of, especially on offense, just a lack of talent. The defense, I mean, again, this performance notwithstanding, should be much better than it's been to this point in the season. But they have it's just very inconsistent on offense. I don't know what else you can say about that. And also, like I said, like a half a dozen random things happened that probably Calvin Austin's pretty sure-handed. Jonnu Smith, I kind of think he caught that. Like, very random holding penalty on Troy Fautanu. Like, the play where they get away from the run in the red zone is Rodgers checking out of a run to try like a now slant to DK Metcalf, and the defensive lineman drops out. You're not expecting that. It just it just seemed like, in addition to Aaron Rodgers not playing very well, a bunch of stuff just happened in this game that probably not going to all align against you very often, but did not ever allow them to overcome his poor play.
No, certainly. And like you said, on that one play where the edge rusher dropped in the coverage, I mean, you saw him have to do this, just lean back and just really bring it back in. And on the broadcast, Collinsworth called the drop back in the coverage. He compared it to James Harrison in the Super Bowl dropping back because you just were not expecting that. So
same idea.
So you got to give the Chargers credit. I mean, they saw things like that on film, and I think throughout the game he just did not. I don't know. He was not expecting some things. This kind of brings us to a major headache. I think it's an ironic name for a lot of Steeler fans. He says that he is glad they didn't get expensive wide receiver too. More issues to tighten up offensively. Big thing he highlights here is why do you go away from Warren when he's trucking and Aaron's missing targets? And you kind of mentioned it a little bit, on that red zone drive where they end up going on a turnover on downs on the throw to Metcalf. Do you feel like Rodgers might have been checking out maybe a little too often because there's plays like the one we just talked about where the edge rusher drops back and it looks like you really want to try to get the quick throws in, but it just I don't know, it just didn't sink. Do you think he might have checked out one too many times?
So I think they tried to turn the Wi-Fi out on me.
Oh, okay. I saw you kind of sitting there. I was like, oh, I guess he's thinking about it. I don't know what all you caught, but do you think Rodgers might have checked out of one too many calls and it just didn't work out, or do you think it's just one of those? I don't know how else to describe it other than the he just did not expect some things to occur because what some fans in the comments and what we just kind of looked at was uh, you know kind of wondering why do we go away from Warren in like a red zone situation that led to no points, and was Rodgers checking out of plays too often? What are your thoughts?
I would like to see a little bit more Warren. Yep, I think I've said that a lot this year. But I don't think that's. I mean, they're a team that's going to have to throw to set up the run. They cannot. They have not just shown the ability to run when running is predictable. And so I think in the red zone, sometimes you get in a situation where it's hard to do that. And what works going down the field, maybe doesn't work there because you get condensed defenses, right? You can't run coverage off with your receivers to then run underneath it with some delay stuff with Warren. So I did think they got away from it a little bit. I think Rodgers checked out of one. Probably wishes that he hadn't. I think in general, Jalen Warren needs to be a bigger part of their offense, though. I agree with that premise. He's been their best player on offense.
Yeah, ironically, the Steelers have been very good in the red zone this season, and just they didn't make it to the red zone very often today. But when they did, I think they are only one of two. Nehemiah Williams is asking you a question: is it time to hit the panic button, or is it just time to start looking to the 2026 draft? Alan, since they addressed you first, I'll let you answer this one first.
I mean, I guess that depends on what you thought your expectations were. If you thought this was a wild card team, borderline division winner because it looks like it's bad, no, I don't think you should panic. If you thought they were more than that, the panic button was 3 weeks ago, so I don't know what you've been waiting for.
No, I will say I don't think it's time to look to the 2026 draft yet. I know everyone's saying the Ravens have a quote unquote easy schedule, and there's no easy. They have favorable matchups, but let's not pretend the Ravens don't have their issues where they drop some games they shouldn't drop. I think though if Pittsburgh wants to take this division, they got to win in Baltimore. Like it's going to have to happen. But the next 4 games, while we're kind of looking ahead, they have Cincinnati next week. Then they go to Chicago, where they don't win very often, even if Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Then they have the Bills at home, and then they go to Baltimore. So not a very other than you could say maybe next week, but after that Thursday night game, I don't know if anyone should say it's quote unquote easy, but yeah, that's a pretty
No, it
tough
shouldn't be.
stretch.
I want to get this. Steelers scouting department has not been good the last 10 years. I like love takes like this after a loss because, like, first of all, what about this game had anything to do with the Steelers scouting department? Like, nothing. But second of all, there aren't 2 guys in the 15-member Steelers scouting department who have even been with the team 10 years. They're all new, and their last 3 drafts have been very good. Just absurd stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this one's good here too. There was a couple of plays where I think Rodgers did not find Pat Freiermuth. The safety was one. The 4th down in the end zone was another one. He admitted as much. I don't know why. I also love that, the other criticism I see on social media a lot is why did they call a 4th down fade in the end zone? That was the best play call we had. It's like the call
yeah,
has 4 or 5 routes in it. One guy is deciding where the ball goes. It's not like the play is called to Aaron. Here's what I want you to do: just throw it to DK Metcalf. Everyone else doesn't matter. That's not how it works. He's got to make a read and decide what to do with the ball, and he threw it to a double covered guy in a low percentage play. That's on the quarterback, not on the play call. The play call had a guy open. Anybody barking at coaching in this game is just the players were in position to make the plays over and over and over again. And whether it was Rodgers or the other popcorn stuff we talked about on offense, they failed to. That is what the coaching staff is supposed to do. They had the players in place to make the plays to win the game, and they couldn't do it. It's absurd to me that people want to talk about coaching and the scouting department after a game like this where there were just so obvious how many plays that are out there on the field that are still out there being swept up by the SoFi Stadium crew, who is right now changing us over from Chargers regalia to Rams. They're picking up all the Steelers' first downs that they left out there right now.
no, certainly. And Chris Collinsworth even said as much on the broadcast. He said Aaron Rodgers looked at this play and said, "This is where I'm going with the ball." It was predetermined. Like that, you can't blame Arthur Smith on that. I mean, you could blame Arthur Smith for some personnel uses, maybe getting away from Jalen Warren, but
Sure.
there were plays left by Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he admitted as much. And the Steelers defense, they had a few turnover opportunities they missed, and special teams they had a turnover. So I think anyone saying fire, 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 this isn't like 2 or 3 weeks ago where it felt like no adjustments were being made and nothing was working. This was just opportunities slipped. So major headache. I think he meant the Ravens here. He said the Raisins look beatable.
I kind of like the Raisins as a just call them the Raisins. I kind of dig it.
No, absolutely. I don't think they're old and wrinkly too much on defense and offense, but we'll keep that in our pocket for when the time comes. But he said they look beatable even with their ups and downs they were having, and I mean, I watched a little bit of the game with JJ McCarthy, who our intern Ben, he and I got to a little bit of a little scuffle on X about one time, but that's okay. We had a little sidebar and we chit chatted out. But nonetheless, I mean, McCarthy was just, I don't know. He did not play well today, and by even then they only won by 8 points, and They had a chance to tie at the end of the game. So I have to agree with a major headache. Ravens. It could be because Lamar's still getting getting his feet under him. But I mean, by all counts, they're having up and downs. We're having up and downs. So we'll see how that goes.
Steeler Girl wants to know how the Steelers could be in rebuild mode. It doesn't make sense. I wrote 2,200 words at SteelersNow.com on this on Thursday. I really, I'm just going to push you there. But yeah, I don't, they are rebuilding. They are not trying to be bad while they're doing it. They're trying to be competitive while they're doing it. But the young offensive line and defensive line that won out and got the last couple of years, that is the core of this team that they're trying to build around. And it's going to take some time. And I don't think they're particularly close, although a quarterback would certainly help things a lot. And that's why they and we have spent a lot of time focused on quarterback in the 26th draft. But no team that is saying right now, we think we're going to draft a quarterback next year is not rebuilding. That is what you're doing.
No, certainly. And I would like to highlight one positive take because there's been a lot of negative. I appreciate Anthony for highlighting this. Another game where Kyle Duggar looked like a good addition. I have to agree. He had a tackle for a loss. Made a lot of. He was around the ball a lot. I think he has definitely been especially after that Packers game. Alan, you said they need to go get a safety, and that's exactly what they did. They went and got a safety and kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit, jumping on a moving train. But he's been worth every dollar that they invested, or draft pick, I guess you'd say.
I think he was the best player in their secondary. I got to watch it again. I don't give up a completion, did he?
I don't think he did either. Like he was around the ball. Like
I thought he was very good. Now, if he had come up with that interception, maybe they win the game. But
yeah, you're right. Yeah, down there in the red zone. Right off the hands. It hung in the air too. Like that's what frustrated me with that one. So, Boxing Man is still kind of talking about scouting departments.
Laughable.
We appreciate you tuning in, man, but it is what it is there. And so let's see. Steel Life said Tomlin picked Kenny, Mitch, Wilson, Canada, Fichtner, Austin. These alone are fireable offense. I mean, I wouldn't say he handpicked Kenny. I feel like that's more of a collaboration type pick. Mitch, same thing there. Russell Wilson, I mean, I get it. He had a rough end of the season last year, but I felt like he was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. They got what they were expecting to get out of Russ. The coordinator hires is a very valid point. The coordinator hires have been bad. Although I think Arthur Smith's doing a very nice job. And Austin has done a very nice job until this year. He is not doing, he's not done a good enough job this year. And the coordinator hires are valid, but I wrote before the Arthur Smith hire that I felt like there was real pressure on Tomlin to make a good hire there because of the way the last couple had gone. And I think he did. I think he's going to be a head coach candidate again.
Certainly. I remember at the end of 2023, everyone asked, are you going to hire from within? He said, no, I just don't think it's appropriate at this moment. And I think, for a organization that, let's be real, historically speaking, most of their offensive coordinators get promoted from within. I felt like, that was a very necessary change. I mean, even dating back to the Cowher days, Wisenhunt was internal, Malarkey was internal, and Arians was also internal. But I get that was Tomlin's era, but BA was on the staff. So, but Remix, he brings up a good point here. Fans just want to blame Tomlin for everything. It was execution. Offense dropped one here. And don't get me wrong. Tomlin, there's a lot of things you can criticize Tomlin about, but I'm not so sure that today was a, like being suggested here, it's all Tomlin. I agree.
Yeah,
It's
this game was about number 8, mostly, period. And if there are more of these, then it's going to go pretty badly. But I don't really think we should expect there to be more of these. Even as an older player, this is basically the worst game of his career until the last drive. He had a 19 passer rating until the last drive. The lowest passer rating he ever had in a game before this was 34. So that's almost half of his worst. I mean, you're just not. This is a bad time for it to happen in a game they very well could have won the way the defense played. But when a player that impactful is that bad compared to their historical norms and reasonable expectations, I don't know what you're pointing at coaching for. Like, hey, you just got to say the player wasn't good enough and the Steelers lost, and they just got to hope it doesn't happen again. Because if it does, they're probably cooked. I mean, you can't absorb too many more of these. But I don't think there's any real rational reason to think that it will. I assume that it was a bad day, and there will be better ones in the future.
so you got to have a short memory in this profession. Um, so, folks, we are coming up here to a close. We'll get here a couple more. Galeno kind of highlights what you're saying with Arthur. Gets so much hate. Here's one that you wrote about very similarly. Look at what Fields is currently doing with the Jets and what Rose is doing with the Giants. I mean, neither of them doing well. You asked the question. Maybe Arthur Smith is a low-key little whisperer in that regard.
I think he certainly has minimized the weaknesses and highlighted the strengths of those guys last year. And I mean, he's doing better with Rodgers this year than Rodgers was in New York last year. Even, I mean, I'll have to look and see where the numbers end up after this game, but it was a big difference coming in. So I doubt he erased it all with one bad performance.
Certainly. And to close, just because I see the Browns being talked about, and Steve Life says at least the Browns are bad enough to have a chance at top QB. Oh, because that's worked out plenty before. That's
Yeah.
worked out plenty before. Their best quarterback didn't even stay on their team.
Unfortunately for the poor quarterback, that is correct.
Goodness gracious.
That's not a winning formula. We've seen around the league these last couple of years, time after time, top draft picks failing, and guys that go later that fall to teams that have a clue about what they're doing have much more success. If I was a quarterback coming out in the draft right now, I'd want to go 10, not 1. Because, I mean, you see all these – not only do we see what was the last draft class where the first quarterback taken ended up being the best one? Burrow? Not long ago? And all these guys, Darnold, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, Baker, where they go to these awful teams and then they go to other places and have success. It's like, yeah, part and parcel of being up there to get that quarterback is that you got to just be a total clown shoes organization that doesn't know what you're doing, and you got to screw up a whole bunch of stuff that then it takes years and years and years to unscrew up. And it's just it is not a process that any rational fan should want to wish upon their team. And if you're a Pittsburgh fan and you think you might, just go watch the Pirates for a little bit. You should be cured of that.
Enough said there. So, folks, we appreciate everyone joining on. I will kind of highlight this one last one as we close. Where's Smitty for the post game? I know I'm not as handsome or as much of a pro as Smitty, but he will be back, I imagine, next week. So,
yeah,
but
late
I appreciate
night for me here on the West Coast, and Smitty has an early wake up call tomorrow. So, yes, Job to fill in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I'm not afraid of doing this alone, but I feel like it flows a little bit better when there's two of us. So we try to do that when we can. Appreciate Job staying way up late on the East Coast. And we'll see about morning rush tomorrow. I don't know. I got a 9 a.m. my time flight. So we'll see. It might be dicey.
Certainly. Well, I appreciate everyone.
Definitely will have an afternoon drive tomorrow evening.
No, certainly. Well, everyone, I appreciate everyone chiming in and letting us know how they feel, even when it's hasn't been wasn't a great result tonight. And Alan, I appreciate your time. And like Alan said, don't forget about the morning rush, the afternoon drive, and Wednesday nights we have the Steelers night shift, and Thursday nights we have Pelusi's Pick'em. And you can find me on Twitter at Joby Football. And Alan, where can they find you if they don't
A
know?
Saunders underscore PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now site's account. My column will be there either very late tonight or very early tomorrow morning. I'm honestly not even sure which of those it's going to be finished yet, but one or the other will have that ready to go.
Absolutely. Well, everyone have a good night, and we will talk to you guys this week.